Hi, everyone. So excited to welcome you all back to the Birth Squad. We are so excited that we are joined today by the two founders of Birth by Us. Together, we will be launching a special series called HerStory. But before we get into all of those episodes, we wanted you to hear from the founders themselves about what they're all about and what inspired them to create this wonderful app. So, Mercy and Ijama, welcome to the Birth Squad.
Hi, thank you for having us. Yeah, my name's Ijoma. I'm here with my co-founder Mercy, and I guess I'll start by saying why we built Birth by Us, right? So essentially, when we were in the beginning process of building anything, we didn't even know it would become Birth by Us. I was an undergrad at Brown, doing research nearby Women's and Infants Hospital. And what I realized that really early on in academia is that we do a lot of research, but not a lot of that research gets translated into our communities. And so I was really disheartened by the reality of the fact that a lot of the research that I'm doing now and potentially can do in the future may not even be in the hands of the people who need it most. So I kind of went rogue and I started to ask a lot of my peers, my mentors, providers, anyone that I could talk to about what was going on in the maternal health landscape, and with the intention of how we can essentially build a tool to empower moms. And what I realized is that someone else across the US is also asking the same questions, and I was able to meet my co-founder Mercy. And so we hopped on a Zoom call. We met and essentially talked to each other about our intentions. And we went, boots on the ground running, essentially asking as many people as we can. You're thinking about anyone that touches a birthing person or a mother from the moment they know they're pregnant up to 1 year postpartum, essentially what's going on in the landscape, and with the lens of how can we solve this issue and how can we make a tool a possible solution. And it's going to take a lot more than just a application to beat this huge crisis that we are currently in. But we knew that if we really listened to our community and co-build with our community, we'll be able to build a tool that essentially empower mothers and families to navigate this fragmented system. So yeah, I'll pass it to my friend.
So, like Ijoma said, the key piece of our app is really trying to center what does a birthing person need to thrive and building that in one place. And I think what's super important is that, like we're trying to say, it's not the full solution. It's really about one piece of it, but the biggest piece of that is bringing together all these other pieces that are tangentially supporting moms and families. And so, just to give you an example of how that actually works, I think it's good with if I give you a fake user. So let's imagine we have a user named Tia, and she's reporting in our daily quizzes that she's feeling sad, she's feeling a low mood. So what's cool is that the app can actually, first analyze and say, "Hey Tia, this is not normal in general, but also not normal for you," because she's checking in with us every single day, so we're able to identify what's actually her baseline versus just this is normal versus this is not normal. That's already a really interesting intervention because that helps her now be able to say, "Hey, I can go to my provider and tell them this is not just not feeling like me. I have tangible data to show how it's different, what's wrong, all those different things." On top of that, though, we're thinking, okay, that's not enough. How do we actually support her? So we also are giving her prompts, questions to facilitate that conversation. Because, like Ijoma said, we started this by actually talking to those stakeholders, so talking to moms, partners, doctors, doulas, etc. And from the providers, we really heard a lot of patients are coming in with some kind of symptoms, but they're not able to articulate, they're not able to express it. And appointments, as we all know, very short. So we're thinking, how can we make those appointments more efficient? As by guiding the conversation and allowing Tia or any other user to really take charge and best express how they're actually feeling. So we do that, and that obviously has really enormous impacts on the actual care that's received. But on top of that, we also are doing resources. So what does that look like? First, it's articles and videos that are culturally competent and made with her in mind, so she can actually understand things around managing sadness, things around self care, where that actually makes sense for her life. And I'm super excited about this series because it's gonna feed right into that. So how do we get the stories of moms like Raydell, like Shayla, who are sharing their really important stories of birth and of power, and get that story out to other moms? At the same time, it's wraparound support. So one feature we're super excited about, it's coming out very, very soon, is our hub feature. And what that actually looks like is who are all the people and what are all the services around a parent that they need to help them have a better experience. So you might think of doulas, you might think of lactation consultants, but also hair care, childcare, temptation, all these things that sometimes feel, superfluous or like extra, right? But those are things that you also need. And so we're centralizing all those things into one place because they already exist. They're just hard to find. And now through the app, Tia and any other user can go and see that all in one place. And then finally, community. And what's super interesting about that piece is it actually came from the user request. So when we say like we listen, then we build, we really do it. And we had our beta last summer and everyone said, this app is awesome, this app is awesome, but I want to talk to other moms. And we're like, okay, heard and received. So now we're building up the community piece. You can talk to other parents, share your stories, get advice all in one place. So I'd say the key intervention here is, again, just centering what does a birthing person need to thrive and putting that all at the touch of their fingertips in one application.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, both of you have highlighted what a lot of us all know, right? That we are currently in a crisis in maternal health care, specifically with respect to Black mothers. The Black maternal morbidity mortality is at an all-time high. And you also highlight the importance of cultural sensitivity by providing multiple resources. So, how can people like birthing individuals reach out to you guys? Like, where can they find all the information? What do you really want people to know walking away from this conversation about Birth by Us?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that Mercy just mentioned, but I want to highlight again, like, we are truly here to listen. We are here to co-create with you. We know that you know what you need, and it's our job to use the skills that we have in order to make that happen. So I would say if anyone has any experiences or any feedback, please reach out to us at hello@birthbyus.com or Ijoma, Ijeoma, @birthbyus.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at birthbyus.com. We have our website, same thing, birthbyus.com. And we are just, again, we're here to hear you. I would say this work is the most meaningful work that I've done in my lifetime, and it gives me purpose every day. And it gives me purpose because I am truly seeing the impact they were having by just taking the time to listen to people who just haven't had the platform to hear their own voices and also to be in front of someone who actually wants to reciprocate and really hear what they're saying. So just know that when you're coming to us, our ears are open. They're open, and we're really looking for, the next solution for you.
Yeah, I'd also say download the app. So the app is available right now. Just search Birth by Us in either Apple or the Android Google Play Store, and you can download it and start receiving all the benefits that we just talked through. And like Ijoma said, we want you to know who's actually behind the product. I think that's really important because it's not just, you're going to write this email and then eventually we'll respond in a year. No, like you write it, we lock it down, and that next sprint, that next 2 week cycle, it's being developed and it's being incorporated. So I think people should really understand that this app is being built for you and with you. And there's a lot of opportunities, like Joe mentioned, to contact us, to get involved, and to have your thoughts be heard and translated into action.
Ladies, I'm just so in awe of what you've already created. And I think that you all recognize the importance of, really investing in the birthing person and also bridging that gap between the birthing person and their healthcare team, right? You're equipping them with the ability to be more prepared for their appointments so that they know what questions to ask and what resources to seek. But, I think one important thing about all of this is like who you two are, right? About what brought all of this about, what you're doing currently. If both of you could just kind of share a little bit more about you and like what made you do this.
Yeah. Like I said, I went to Brown for undergrad and decided to do a master's in public health at Berkeley. And now I'm a second year medical student at UC Davis. But what really brought me to this work is just the fact that one of the only times I've seen my mother cry was when she told me the story of her birthing story with my little sister, where she had a near-death experience. And so she was seizing, she didn't know her symptoms, and I would essentially not have the most important person in my life right now. So that really, really prompted me to get into this work really early on and find my passion.
So I'd say what brought me to this was a little non-conventional. So my background's computer science. I got my bachelor's in CS at MIT. And before that, I'd always been interested in health equity. So I'd say I'd had a big through line of that. And I was always kind of like, I used to do science fair a lot in high school. So I would like make apps and websites and stuff like that and then display my science fairs around a bunch of different health related things. But in terms of like Black maternal health, what brought me to it was I was actually having my own issues when it comes to reproductive health in my sophomore year and freshman year of college. And I was Googling, Black mother, because I'm like, I need a positive story. I need to feel better about my life. Lo and behold, no positive story there. All I was seeing was news around, statistics, rates of mortality, all this statistics that we already know. I think for me, that was really the force of I need to actually do something about this. And at the same time, I was already wanting to see, how can I leverage my skills? How can I use tech for good? And so it really became just this perfect marriage of, you know, passion and purpose. And seeing those two things come together kind of really came together to make Birth by Us. And outside of this, outside BBU, what I'm doing right now is I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil, doing a research project on Black maternal health as well. And so that's been super cool because I was wanting to go to Brazil and like see, because I know they have similar disparities, but essentially the same thing that we're talking about when we say listening to moms and actually trying to build it. I've been interviewing moms here to figure out what is the experience of being a Black mother in Brazil and how do they think we need to be reshaping that experience. And so I'm taking a lot of these learnings, analyzing their stories. And what's interesting is it's really, really similar to what we already heard from moms in our research for Birth by Us. And so I think that just shows the really need for this tool, not just in the US, but or internationally.
And I think, I really want listeners to understand how impressive you guys are. Ijama and I, other Ijama, right? we also have a huge passion for maternal health, right? That's why we chose the specialty that we're in. And we found out about you from your accomplishments, right? Like you received a huge grant. You got the Wesley Prize for Young Social Innovators, which is how we came across you. And that's like so impressive, especially for where you are in your careers. And so I think it's important for people to know like maternal health matters, Black maternal health especially, and that there are people out here in this field who are so driven and passionate about what we do that we're getting awards for it, right? And that it's motivating us to make amazing resources for patients so that they can get the care that they deserve. We are so passionate about saying in our podcast that people deserve the birth that they want, but more importantly, that they deserve. And I think your app and your organization is just one facet of helping women and birthing individuals achieve that. And so that's why we were so excited to partner with you guys. And that's why we're so excited about our new podcast, our sub series called HerStory, where we are going to share 5 stories of individuals who have worked closely with you and with us about their different experiences. I don't know if either of you want to share with the listeners some of the stories that we're going to feature, but we would love if you could, let them get a sneak peek of what's to come.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to look forward to. And I think what's great is that even without necessarily trying, we can find a really good balance in terms of the stories and the experiences that each of the women brought forth. So, for example, we have Vanessa, and she's sharing her story of essentially how motherhood, she's something that she always wanted, but she didn't necessarily have a timeline for. And what I love about her story is I think it's really just surrounded and really shrouded in Black birthing joy, which you don't get a lot of. So it's really nice. And I think you guys are really gonna enjoy hearing her, how she relied on community, how she had other people around her to support her through that whole journey. And another one that really I still think about today is Shayla's story. And what's awesome about Shayla's story, one is she's also a writer. So she writes a lot of her story on her own platform, and we're excited to have the partnership coming out with her very soon on Birth by Us. But what's really, really got me about her story is that she's a mom of, I think, 7 or 8 kids, a lot of kids, right? And a lot of those births have been at home. And so I think she brings a different perspective of how do you do a home birth? How do you plan for a home birth? And she really grounds that in her own identity. And so I think that's another one to really watch out for. But all of them are really, really exciting. And I think each one brings a unique perspective that you can't miss.
For sure. And I just want to highlight one story that I personally am really connected to as well, which is Ayana's story. And I think that it's really a fresh story for people who are in their 20s, mid 20s or late 20s, who are thinking about, starting a family or is currently pregnant. You get a perspective of someone who's literally in your shoes, and she's on her second pregnancy and her first baby just turned 1 year old a couple days ago. You really get a wide range of experiences from people who are in their 20s and beyond, of just this full landscape of what pregnancy looks like and the different experiences that come with every story, every unique story, essentially.
Yeah, and I also really loved Raydell's story. She gave a unique perspective about how to navigate having a pregnancy and birth internationally, right? And having unexpected complications and how to have resilience through that. And also in Ghazi's story, she herself was a nurse on labor and delivery, and how, the work that she did has transformed her into now being really a maternal health advocate, doula, educator, and taking on so many roles as a result of her own experiences too. So we're just so excited for you all to hear these amazing stories. They will be all available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, all the platforms, your favorite places to watch things or listen to things. They will all be available by video. So we really appreciate you all listening. And again, if you are someone who is a birthing individual or loves a birthing individual, encourage them to download Birth by Us. It's going to really transform their birthing pregnancy experience.
And give them feedback. We all appreciate it. Give us feedback, give them feedback. It's so, so important, and it helps us continue to do what we do and to make sure that what we provide you with, what resources you receive, are exactly what you're looking for. So with that, I'm Dr. Kamish Thomas with the Birth Squad, and this is Mercy and Ijama with Birth by Us.